This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's working. Great. Okay, let me just share my screen. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes.
Great. So thank you so much for having me today at the webinar, and good afternoon to all. My name is Anna Barbanti. I am an independent consultant and I work for the Renewables Grid Initiative, which is also called RGI. So RGI is an organization based in Berlin, working on topics that regard renewable energy and nature, mostly across Europe. But today I am presenting OCEAN, which stands for Offshore Coalition for Energy and Nature, which is an initiative that started from RGI. So let me just go on. We have two coalitions, one in the North and Baltic Sea and the other one in the Mediterranean, which started with a few years difference. So the one in the North started in 2020, and the one in the Med started in 2023. And the one in the Mediterranean also involves Portugal. So we are also talking about part of the Atlantic water in that sense. These coalitions bring together a number of grid operators, wind developers, and also civil societies and organizations and environmental NGO. And the point is to collaborate to bring forward actions and recommendations to advance both energy and nature targets within Europe. There are a number of partners in the North and Baltic Sea, and also you can see here in the Mediterranean. And as you can see, RGI sits in the middle of both coalitions as a convener, secretariat, and moderator and coordinator of both these coalitions. So this is a little bit how the governance work within both of them. And then we have all of these partners contributing to the different activities that we do. For both coalitions, we organize plenary calls, member assemblies, activities, webinars, and several other things that relate to working groups and the topics that I will present in a bit. As you can see, the Mediterranean and Southern Europe coalition is a little smaller because, as I said, it started in 2023, so it's younger. But also in matters of development in the Mediterranean and in Portugal, these are younger ecosystems as compared to the Baltic Sea and the North Sea. In fact, in the North, there's already a number of wind projects offshore, and in this coalition, the discussion is much more mature in matters of topics as well. We have already examples and best practices from industry and grid operators working for better and nature-friendly deployment of offshore wind and grid infrastructures. Whereas in the Mediterranean, as I was saying, the discussion is younger. There are no offshore wind projects established yet. We have a few floating pilots in the Mediterranean and Atlantic waters. Oh, I'm sorry, I just went too fast. In the Mediterranean and Atlantic waters off the coast of Spain, France, and Portugal, but there are still pilot projects because they are testing this new floating technology, which will be needed in the Mediterranean since it's much deeper than the Northern Europe coasts. And because in this country, everything is actually new, from auctioning to permitting. And therefore, there's a lot of things that need to be figured out still and that need to be discussed. Therefore, also the two coalitions are also managed a little differently. And in fact, in the North and Baltic coalition, we mostly focus on, we have task forces focused on topics like auctioning advocacy, stakeholder engagement, and environmental and monitoring data. Whereas in the Mediterranean, we have national-based discussion because things are still very different in the countries that we work with and cannot right now. Well, we could have topics, but it's a little bit premature to have topic-based task forces. And instead, we work in groups that consolidate national discussions. So to understand how to move forward things in the countries, not only at project level, but also national level with governments, local authorities, permitting authorities, and so on. So we do with these coalitions engagement at several different levels. We have the national level with the member states, so with national ministries and regulatory authorities. We'd also do activities at national level like workshops, capacity building trainings and roundtables with external stakeholders as well. We engage at regional level with other initiatives like and organizations like HELCOM, OSPAR, Black Sea Renewable Energy Coalition, NSEC, and GNSBI and BMIP. We engage at EU level with DG Mare, DG Environment, DG Energy, the European Parliament, European Commission, groups like the Biodiversity EU platform. And we also have engagement and global level with the initiatives like Ginger that are also came from RGI and IUCN, which looks into wind power and infrastructure metrics to measure the impact on the environment and on communities, and other like IUCN, World Economic Forum, UN Global Compact, and international funders. So saying this for us is an open forum for discussion, and we try to create a common understanding to bring together the vision of the different sectors that usually do not talk to each other regarding topics like energy and nature. And it is really interesting to see how, while we try to fill knowledge gaps of each sectors, having this platform for, let's say, cross-pollination really helps to fill in these gaps, because these sectors like the industry and TSOs on one side and environmental NGOs on the other actually have the answer to each other's questions. So this is really important to foster the conversation and to find a better solution for grid, offshore wind and nature. So to ensure that the protection of nature is embedded in these infrastructures. We also collect innovative practices and showcase solutions and best practices through webinars, workshops, not only within the coalitions, but also to externals. Some of them are open to all. And I'll show later also some of the products that come from these discussions as a result of the activities that we do together with these coalitions. So we cover a number of topics. I already mentioned auctioning, for example, and on-price criteria, ecological criteria, mitigation of environmental impacts, nature-inclusive designs within the infrastructure, the restoration of marine ecosystems, management of environmental data and its collection as well. And for example, also marine spatial planning. It's a really important topic that we work on, which relates then to other issues like environmental impact assessments, where we're going to put these huge infrastructures, while in the meantime we have other activities and economic activities and communities that live and work in the same areas on top of the environmental component. So we also look at coexistence with other activities and cumulative effects. And one point that I would like to make, since also we are talking about aquaculture later, and Darin as well asked me to say something about this. It's about this idea that in certain projects they start to pitching, which is to put together the infrastructure for wind and aquaculture, so as to have coexistence of activities. Now, I am not an expert in aquaculture, so I suggest that if there are specific questions on this, probably Inba is the best person here to ask to. But what I can say is that there are many questions that we still need to ask and answer regarding putting these two things together, especially when we talk about the different types of aquaculture, depending on the ecosystem where the wind infrastructure is being placed. Because of course, it's not the same if it is 10 kilometers from the coast or 50 kilometers from the coast. So they're very different environments, also depending on the depth of the sea bottom. So before making decisions, it's really important to consult with people that have expertise in aquaculture and can tell you if from economic perspective, social perspective, and ecological perspective, it makes sense to go forward with this endeavor or not. Moving forward, we organize as a coalition also a number of events like conferences. We participate in international conferences like Wind Europe, at which Wind Europe is the European Conference for Wind Energy, which brings together between 10 and 15,000 people that work in the industry, and we try to bring the environmental component into this very corporate fair at this in this event every year, and it's turning out really well lately. So we are really happy with the outcomes and with the engagement that we are having in this context. And we also organize, together with our conferences and webinars, good practice fairs, so as to showcase, for example, nature inclusive designs and other solutions that can help make more nature-friendly infrastructure within this industry. On our website, you can find also resources regarding this topic specifically. For example, we have 2 databases that are free to access and consult to anyone who's interested. One on mitigation measures for offshore wind infrastructures, from the designing to the decommissioning, so going through the whole phases, and a nature enhancement and restoration database in which all of these experiences and projects are collected from the world, not only from Europe, to showcase best practices and let people know of what are the solutions towards achieving both energy and nature goals. So as I said, you can also scan the QR code, and these are available on our website that you can see also here at the bottom of the page. Moreover, we have publications, fact sheets, statements, and infographics that are available on the website. And one that is really important came out last year, which is this one here. It's a report on minimization and avoidance measures for offshore wind and grid infrastructures, as I was saying, from the planning to the decommissioning. And this is very detailed and has more than 80 of these solutions that could be implemented in the different stages of the life cycle of an offshore wind. On top of, as I was saying, a number of statements to understand what the coalitions are trying to recommend and suggest, and also other fact sheets and infographic that can be useful to explain complicated topics and that bring together a number of data and information that could be scattered away in the web. That is it from me. I'm leaving you with this last page in case anyone wants to learn more on our website and register for our event and mailing list. And I'm happy to answer any questions. So please don't hesitate to reach out also after this webinar. I'm very happy to get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. We're going to leave the questions just to the end, so we have time for all the presenters to present what they have. But then, sure, at the end we can please save your questions. Then, in the end, we can go back to that. So we're going to continue. Thank you, Anna. With Inba.
Yeah.
Thank you, Inba.
I think my slides are visible.
Yes, we can see it. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And hi, this is Inba, and I'm from India. So for India, it's a very good evening, and for the other people, it's good afternoon. And thanks for Darren for organizing this webinar on governance on blue economy. And myself, I'm working as a professor in the Center for Ocean Research in Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology, where we are focusing on marine biology, fisheries, and aquaculture. And I'm also playing a role of a co-lead in ecosystem-based aquaculture specialist group in IUCN SIM. And today I'm going to talk about towards sustainable aquaculture and fisheries in India, nature and ecosystem-based approaches. So my the entire slide will tell about what is ecosystem-based aquaculture and what is a nature-based solution and how we can utilize it for aquaculture and fisheries, and some of the case studies in India who have done such kind of activity here. And a little bit I'm going to talk about the Indian blue economy draft pattern, which is made by the government of India, and how I can analyze that blue economy policy through the objectives of EBAG. This is what the entire slide consists. And when I'm talking about the ecosystem-based aquaculture specialist group, it is part of the IUCN SEM, which promotes sustainable aquaculture that support both conservation of diversity and ecosystem health in marine and freshwater system. And our objectives are promoting the ecosystem approach, recognizing ecosystem services, developing indicators of ecosystem health, creating ecosystem management tool, and encouraging aquaculture roles towards aquaculture as well as in fisheries. And here the infographic shows what are the indicators which will help in the blue economy of coastal and marine aquaculture, such as sustainable development, food and nutrition, sustainable livelihoods, poverty elevation, economic growth, sustainable use of marine resources, environmental sustainability, and adaptation to climate change. When we are going to talk about the sustainability, these are the major challenges are climate change mitigation and adaptation, disaster risk reduction, economic and social development, human health, food security, water security, and environmental degradation and biodiversity losses. So in the context of nature-based solution, when we are seeing the aquaculture and fisheries, it is the protection, sustainable management, and restoration of coastal and aquatic systems, aquatic ecosystems to address challenges such as climate change, habitat degradation, and food and livelihood security. Actually, these solutions will enhance biodiversity, supports resilient fisheries, as well as promote sustainable aquaculture that will benefit both the ecosystem as well as human health. And when we are talking about ecosystem-based adaptation, it is considered as a specific type of nature-based solution. In aquaculture and fisheries, it involves the management of restoration of aquatic as well as coastal ecosystem, such as mangroves, seagrasses, and wetlands to enhance the resilience of fish stock, farming system, and dependent communities to the impact of climate change. I think this infographics will complete show the spatial planning of aquatic ecosystem, which comprises of ocean, coastal, and freshwater ecosystem. And these are the case studies in India where they adapted nature-based solution and as well as ecosystem-based approaches in aquaculture and fisheries. First is the Pokali rice and prawn farming, which is in the Kerala state of India. The traditional Pokali cultivation rotates salt-tolerant rice with prawn or with fish farming in coastal wetlands to maintain the soil health, biodiversity, and food security without adding any chemical or a fertilizer, any kind of a toxic inputs, which is a classical example for ecosystem-based and nature-based approaches. The second example is the integrated multi-tropic aquaculture, which is done by CMFRI at Tamil Nadu, India. In Tamil Nadu, the CMFRI is the Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, which is coming under the Government of India Agriculture Research Institute. They have implemented IMTA, that is the integrated multi-tropic aquaculture, by combining cobia cage farming. Cobia is nothing but the rostralgia species with seaweed cultivation, demonstrating a balanced production, ecological stability, livelihood benefits, which is also another best example for EBA and NBS principles. Third example is the integrated mangrove and shrimp aquaculture, which we used to call termed as silver aquaculture. This is globally practiced, and in India, it is the best way. Shrimp pond are integrated with mangrove restoration to provide ecosystem services like blue carbon, biodiversity, coastal protection, livelihood and reduction, external inputs like that. And the fourth example is restocking native fish in Chalakudi, which is again a great example from Kerala state of India, where the Kerala University of Fisheries and Ocean Studies restocked threatened native species. In locally, we used to call as Manjakuri and Kurawa, that is the local catfish, to restore biodiversity, ecosystem health, and sustainable fisheries. This is another example for ecosystem-based approaches. In detail, this Pokaliform, this is one of the report made by Ramachandra et al., and he published this in the current science journal. They said this Pokali as well as Kaipad-based rotational paddy farming will also help in climate change mitigation and ecosystem services. And this map shows that in the Kerala district, where in Thrissur, Ernakulam, Alappe, as well as Kannur, they have made this Pokali farm. The green patches shows they have done the Pokali farms. And these photographs, you can see that the saline-tolerant paddy is just growing in the Pokali lands. Okay, and this is also reported by Mangabe. And you can see completely this table shows that what will the before and after effect of this such kind of projects. And this everything will be detailedly recorded, like ecosystem services like flood mitigation, groundwater recharge, net reduction in erosion, carbon sequestration, net greenhouse gas emission, biological nitrogen fixation, like ecosystem services. There is a complete positive response for this. And another example, as I already mentioned about IMTA, that is Integrated Multi-Tropic Aquaculture, which is done by the Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, Tamil Nadu of India. You can see the IMTA aerial view. You can see the cage is there, and nearby mussel farming is happening, and nearby seaweed farming also happening. This is the cross section of the images. So what these people they did, they integratedly cultivated cobia as well as seaweed, a finfish as well as a seaweed, and they get some kind of a good profit as well as there is a good carbon sequestration potential. The production in the fish has been tabulated here in the table. You can see there is a good increase in the yield of the farmed fish, gross revenue and net income, as well as net operating income, as well as the profit margin percentage. Whereas you can see there is the difference, and there is in non-IMTA, the entire production is very low here. And this is the same case where they have get a good profit in the seaweed harvest also. You can see the dried seaweed production is almost 1,280 kg, whereas in non-IMTA it is 576 kg. And the profit margin almost it is 67% in IMTA, where there is a difference of 41%. And you can see the carbon sequestration potential in seaweed cultivation. Almost the seaweed production is for a 4 cycle and 16 drafts, it is 12,800 kg, whereas in non-IMTA it is 5,760 kg. And the total amount of carbon sequestration happened in this 16 draft is around 223 kg. This is a good example of ecosystem-based aquaculture. And this is Silvio Aquaculture, where we can do integrated mangrove aquaculture. We know that mangrove is one of the supportive forests for rich in biodiversity. It provides a critical ecosystem and services. Occurs mainly in the intertidal zones of tropical coastal lines, where shrimp aquaculture is also targeted there. But unfortunately, the tropical and subtropical coastal line is completely occupied with this aquaculture, and there is a great loss for this mangrove. Almost 38% of the global historic mangrove has been lost due to the shrimp farming. Hamilton, he have mentioned that around 5,44,000 hectares of mangrove forest in 8 different tropical countries have been representing 83% of the global shrimp production. Of course, in Southeast Asia, like India, aquaculture is no longer the sole driver of mangrove loss, but other pressures are remaining the same. So the best solution is integrated mangrove aquaculture. This is a sad strategy, which is also being taken by MSSRF, that is MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, which is in Tamil Nadu coast. They have implemented all over the coastal state of the India. And you can see the linkage between the mangrove shrimp culture, blue carbon sequestration, mangrove reforestation, and coastal community. And these are all the indicators. When we are talking about the coastal community, the indicators are economic benefits, social ecological stability, climate change adaptation. Whereas when we are talking about shrimp culture, the indicators are organic shrimps and the ecosystem management and disease resistance. When we are talking about the mangrove restoration, the biodiversity conservation, ecosystem service, and protect climate change effect. So in this way, we can protect the mangrove as well as help the local coastal aquaculture farmers in maintaining the shrimp aquaculture. And this is the final case study, which is done by Kerala State. I already mentioned that QFOS, the Kerala University of Fisheries and Ocean Studies, they said the Chalakudi River, which is the biggest river, which is having a lot of biodiversity. In recent days, there is a biggest loss of biodiversity. What the Kerala State Biodiversity Board is doing now, they are producing the larval form of this local fish variety and ranching into the ecosystem, so that this will conserve the threatened indigenous species. So that will helpful in the local community and their fishery livelihoods. And talking about the India draft blue economy policy, which is made on 2022, I'm just giving the major points about these policies. This policy is to harness ocean resources for economic growth, jobs, and improve livelihood while ensuring environmental sustainability. This is to establish a National Blue Economy Advisory Council for cross-ministry, state, and industry coordination to develop a national blue economy accounting framework and monitoring system. That will help us to focus on governance, tourism, fishery and aquaculture, industry and trade, logistics and shipping, energy and mining, and security. In the this draft will also promote mariculture, seaweed farming, eco-friendly fishing, and implement a mariculture policy to establish a specialized institute and develop food or nutraceuticals or feeds on non-food sectors like pharma, cosmetics, and biomaterials. Also, this draft will boost eco-friendly coastal tourism, blue flag beaches, cruises, and island tourism, and to strengthen the port-led development, multimodal transport, and digitalization for trade efficiency. This draft will also tackle the marine litter, plastic waste, and climate change impact while aligning with SDG 14 goals. And also it helps in the higher GDP contribution, resilient coastal livelihoods, innovation through research and development, and a sustainable ocean economy roadmap to 2030. Though this blue economy policy in draft stage, being a co-lead in the IUCN SEM EBAG, I just want to analyze this draft as per the objective of IUCN EBAG policy. So when we are talking about the ecosystem-based approaches, the expansion of mariculture and seaweed algal farming should be aligned with the ecosystem-based management principle. Also, it should reduce the habitat degradation, eutrophication, or biodiversity loss when they are doing the site selection, carrying capacity, or ecological threshold when they are doing such kind of activity. Also, they have to promote nature positive aquaculture for ecosystem resilience. Like already I informed that integrated multi-tropic aquaculture as seaweeds also based carbon sequestration aquaculture. And when we are talking about the governance and community involvement, IUCN SEM emphasizes participatory governance like local fishers, women group, and coastal community. They should engage in the decision making. Also, the co-management framework where communities share responsibility with state agencies. And mariculture policy must include access rights, benefit sharing, and conflict resolution mechanism. And the third point is about the climate adaptation and resilience. As the blue economy policy is completely focusing on seaweed-based farming and cultivation and eco-friendly aquaculture, nature-based solution will help in mitigation of coastal erosion, enhancing carbon sequestration, providing alternate livelihood under climate stress. And when we are talking about marine biotechnology, of course, it would stress the biodiversity safeguard like a Nayoga protocol, and concentrating on the non-food biotech sector like plastic, cosmetic, and pharma, that will definitely reduce the pressure on the captive fisheries. And the final point about the sustainability safeguard, of course, establishes environmental standards and monitoring for mariculture operation is very much essential for the ecosystem service valuation as well as the ecological integrity. In a nutshell, fisheries and aquaculture expansion under the draft blue economy policy must be ecosystem-based, participatory, and climate resilient. Mariculture and seaweed farming offers opportunity for livelihood, food security, and blue carbon benefit. Sorry.
We can still
But
see.
Yeah, sorry.
No, we can still see the presentation perfectly.
Yeah. Well, livelihood, food security, and blue carbon benefits, but only it implemented with ecosystem safeguard, inclusive governance, and biodiversity conservation. When we're talking about the marine biotechnology, it should be beyond the resource extraction towards value-added non-food sector and aligned with the sustainability and equity principles. So I just made one tabulated thing on how these policy statements have to be perspective with the EBAG objectives. As I already informed that expansion through mariculture and seaweed algal farming should ensure the ecosystem-based management. It should avoid habitat degradation, promote nature-positive aquaculture. And the eco-friendly capture method should encourage a low-impact gear, bycatch reduction, and protection of critical habitats such as mangrove, seagrass, and coral reefs, aligned with fisheries with ecosystem service and biodiversity conservation. Implementing a mariculture policy must be participatory and inclusive, ensuring access rights, benefit sharing, and co-management of the coastal community. And I already mentioned that biotechnology, marine biotechnology, it should be followed with the Nayoga protocol and with, to apply the safeguard of genetic resources. Establishing a specialized institute should focus on the ecosystem services and sustainability merits and social safeguards. And when we are talking about the promotion of non-food sector, it should prioritize the circular economy solution and ensure ethical and equitable benefit sharing for marine genetic resources. With this, I just come to the conclusion and the take-home message of that blue growth in fisheries and aquaculture must go hand in hand with ecosystem-based governance, where livelihood, biodiversity, and climate resilience are valued as highly as economic gains. And again, this is myself, Dhinakarasamy, Inbakandan. As my name is very lengthy, people used to call me as Inba, and this is my mail ID and my mobile number, and these are all my social media links. Thank you.
Thank you, Inba, for the presentation. That's very good to see what initiatives is happening there in India. So let's go on with Raphaëla's presentation, please. Can you hear me?
Raphaëla is, I think you have to unmute her or you just send a message to her.
I think she's able to, let's see, I think she's able to unmute herself. I'll let it open for everyone. Raphaëla? Yes, now we can see your presentation. Hello? Everyone is hearing?
Yeah, we are not hearing anything.
No, okay. I thought it was only me. Okay.
No,
Raphaëla?
I also can't hear anything.
Okay, so it might be, let's just give her a moment. I think it's Raphaëla is trying to put her presentation on. Okay, we can see your presentation again, but can you say something? Because we cannot hear you at least.
You need to click on the button on the bottom left to unmute yourself.
Where the microphone, little microphone is.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Perfect. Now you're.
Okay, I start again.
Yes.
I was disconnected. I don't know why.
Okay. Yeah, probably the internet happens all the time. Okay, so now we can hear you and see you. Maybe you can share again the presentation with us.
Here we go. So, no, that's not this. I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry, but I can't get to my. I don't know what's happening. It doesn't work. So
the presentation.
Well, I can't see it on the screen to be shared. So I don't know what's happening. So again, let me try again.
Okay.
Stop selecting.
The share button would be like a.
No, it doesn't allow me to share the PowerPoint. So.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know what's going on.
Doreen, I think we have to make her as a co-host so that she can do the sharing.
Let me open again through PowerPoint, and we'll see. Okay.
Let me go.
So
Raphaëla is just co-host already. Raphaëla.
Yeah. Yes, I should, but I wasn't allowed to. Okay, so.
Yeah, I can see Raphaëla as a co-host already. So.
Yes.
Otherwise, if she shared the PPT, I can help her in operating the PPT.
Yeah, well, I mean, the presentation is on my screen, but when I start to share the screen on Zoom and select a window, then the presentation doesn't appear in the list. So.
Can you move it on the other screen, maybe? Are you using two screens?
Yeah, I'm using two screens, so maybe I should close one. There we go. It's the same. So I don't know what's happening, but I mean, I can't have my my presentation on the screen.
Okay. If you cannot share with us through email, if you can share with Inba through email, or would you prefer to just talk a little bit about it, if you know?
Well,
without the PDF is not a...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess I skip my presentation. I'm sorry, but I don't.
You wouldn't like to share with Inba so he can share his screen? Like if
Here we go. Here now it's allowing. So I don't know what happened between. Do you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Okay. So I'm going to be fast, but I was just saying as an introduction. So thank you, Darren, for organizing this webinar. And you know, there are for sure many synergies between your work and the work the two previous speakers. And I'd be very happy if we can continue to exchange and perhaps to build up some kind of a community about these concepts that we proposed and the examples you showed. But there are questions arising, and you know, I think we can make a lot of interesting things together. So today I'm concentrating on to talk about this regenerative blue economy beyond sustainability, because that's the point. And this work was made by with the IUCN, the ocean team in Switzerland, which I've been working for quite a few years now. And within the partnership between France and the IUCN, which has been for 20 years now. And so this partnership is going through the French Development Agency. And we have done quite a few examples and work on the sustainability of aquaculture, and particularly illustrating cases of with François Simard, when we were handling the EBAG, the ecosystem-based aquaculture group for the CEM. And so we have started a collection of cases, examples to illustrate how aquaculture can be made in synergy with conservation issues, marine conservation issues. And then we moved ahead, and then we went to the exploration of the nature-based solution concept with the global standard applied to examples of aquaculture. And we have a publication, and we have two cases. One is in Zanzibar seaweed farming, and one is in the shrimp, extensive shrimp farming in mangrove areas in Indonesia. And I'm sure that, you know, the cases presented from India, you know, would really be interesting to be explored under those format for the collection for the IUCN of marine aquaculture and marine protection cases. And then the French Development Agency asked us to go deeper, to explore the question of the blue economy. As you know, the blue economy, you know, has been around for quite a while now, and there are many different interpretations and ways to actually implement the blue economy. So we went to this work, which was a mapping study of what is the blue economy all around the world, and what is the narrative behind the blue economy. And this is this report which is referred here, that you can consult if you haven't done it yet. And with the different topics. So I'm going to explain you. The first section of this report is pretty much a kind of a narrative, because we think that you know, through a narrative we can express a lot of things. And we saw that this blue economy, you know, there's been in the story of the blue economy, there's been two major trends. And one is to consider that the blue economy is just derived from what we called in the past the maritime economy, and which goes through today and it's back in the past at the beginning of the human story as well, you know, and then it is, we will see in detail, a very anthropocentric centric vision of the blue economy, with, you know, the use of the ocean, marine resources, and the ocean environment for human purposes. And then the second major trend we see is the emergence of this novel blue economy, which tends to be much more inclusive, integrative, resilient, and regenerative for the marine and coastal ecosystem. And actually, it is, you know, handled in by the IUCN team. For instance, the Thomas Bernard, the team with the Great Blue Wall project, as an example of things that could be done. So, in detail, you have this explained in the report. But as I said, you know, this first understanding of the blue economy, starting in the past, it's very much linked to traditional activities like fishing, but also military transport. And you had other activities, industrial activities coming into it, including oil and gas activities, etc., etc. And it is what we say, the brown-blue economy, because, you know, it's a conventional way of thinking the economy, this blue economy, and with this kind of a business as usual way of thinking. And then it appeared with the 1992 dates, you know, that we started to talk about the blue economy, but the blue economy, blue growth, it had to be sustainable. So the Rio's conference talked of the sustainable blue economy with major actors, including the IUCN, and started to discuss, you know, the principles for having this blue economy being sustainable. So then we started to talk about sustainable blue economy with new emerging sectors. We saw, you know, the development of a new kind of aquaculture. We saw, you know, the merging of tourism, lots of tourism activities, and etc., etc. And major actors, including the World Bank, including OECD, you know, giving lots of details on, you know, how we should go ahead and for a sustainable blue economy. But still, you know, this is big, along with this view of seeing the blue economy with a very human-centered vision. And we are taking advantage of the ocean, the coastal ecosystems, but we are also impacting them, in fact. So the last and this recent emerging tendency of seeing the emergence of the regenerative blue economy, we said, well, it is probably due to, you know, these huge emerging issues about climate change and the ocean health degradation and so on, and the need for doing more beyond sustainability, which is a term which has been not too much used and perhaps misunderstood whatsoever. And also with the decade of the UN decade about the ocean. So we started to talk about the regenerative blue economy, or let's say a more resilient blue economy. And we are pretty much in the thinking of, you know, a strong sustainability where we actually want to see the ecosystem-based approaches and all the, you know, the ocean health as a major priority. So this way of thinking the blue economy is probably also very ancient, back in the history of these peoples from the sea and communities. We see it in, you know, small island countries, particularly the Pacific islands, but probably also lots of other communities in Southeast Asia and including in Europe as well, in America. So where these communities have a very deep, intense, almost cultural link with the ocean, and there is this sort of a very high respect of the ocean as it should be. So that's where we started to talk, and we have in this report a kind of a reading framework where we are discussing all the things behind this scale, going from the brown blue economy to a sustainable blue economy, and then proposing this regenerative blue economy, and with the different attributes that we want to see behind, where we actually mapping those differences. And of course, there are consequences on the way you want to implement and approach the blue economy, depending on what kind of vision you have, whether it's somehow a brown vision or sustainable, or more demanding regenerative blue economy vision. So we are discussing in the report the contours. We are discussing the proposal of how it could be implemented, and we are also saying strong things, which are, for instance, are the fact that we think that we should ban some activities from this blue economy thinking for regenerative blue economy. For instance, we think that oil and gas, because they don't they are not in the agreement of the carbon decarbonation, etc. Those type of activities and investments should be banned from the scope of a regenerative blue economy. And also for some activities like fisheries and aquaculture, the question is going to be what kind of practices we consider are part of a regenerative blue economy, and what kind of practices for those activities are sustainable, but we're tending to be sustainable, but not regenerative. Mm-hmm. And behind this term regenerative, you really have the strong work of looking for nature plus positive impacts for the ocean and for the population.
Mm-hmm.
So
can I just I hope we have some buffer for time, but just so to let you know that it's 3, and I don't know if Zoom will allow, how much time Zoom will allow from that, because I don't know if I put like until 3:30 or I don't remember. So just so you be aware of that, and I hope it doesn't cut, but as long as until we went, it's already good.
Okay. So let me then go to the final points. So now that we have done this work, we are looking and exploring different sectors, including for instance, the aquaculture sector, to see how we can be within this blue economy. We are disseminating, lots of things about this regenerative blue economy. And we have one definition, which is going to be in the motion, if accepted, for this blue economy, regenerative blue economy for the future Congress at the IUCN. So this is the motion here as it is stated. And also what is really important is that we are proposing these 5 principles. And the principle number 1 is really related to the ocean health. And then the B is related to what kind of economic development we want, and we have to switch from the business as usual to something more inclusive, etc., etc. We have to talk about governance. We have to strongly go to activities decarbonated, impact plus, including circular economy principle and so on. And then also a very last important point is to take into account, the indigenous savoir-faire, the specific case of the island states, etc. So a real focus also on those communities within this regenerative blue economy. So we had this talk about regenerative blue economy in June in Nice for instance, where, Mina presented also the IUCN. The strategy of the IUCN is including this regenerative blue economy now within this plan for the future. And we are also, as I said, working on the use of this principle of regenerative blue economy for the aquaculture sector. And I'm sure that your work you presented before, we can discuss and see how it goes with. So there are many different concepts, including the one from you, Darren, of regenerative aquaculture that could be considered within the scope of regenerative blue economy for the aquaculture field. And we are starting this very interesting work and trying to disseminate it. I'm sure that the IUCN, the group here, can contribute to go forward. So we have one case we developed here in Senegal with the a small community with it locally managed community manager MPA, marine protected area, and the development of the collection of clams for the communities. And this is it. So
okay. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I couldn't see myself. I think it was the issue again. Okay. It's very nice to hear all this. It's clearly different approaches. Not approaches. I mean, everybody's thinking about the environment here. Of course, everybody's taking care about thinking about sustainability. But it's good to see this being put in different areas of the globe and in different contexts and to different activities. Yes, governance as in for the blue growth or for the blue activities, right, will end up in the blue economy, considering the management itself. So it's good to see that. I want to see if Katie, do you have any questions for the group, or of course, afterwards, this can be posted, this presentation. So I hope people will reach out. We even had one of the members talking about the oil, actually, Raphaëla. So I don't know if you saw his paper, but yes, he. So I think members will be interested in the bridging or in the concepts that their work, for example, bridges with what was presented today. Okay, Katie has no questions, so I think we can finish here, but I'll make sure that this gets put online and then people can reach out. And yes, as Raphaëla said, I would like to continue discussions, and I think we can all bridge and come up with a group.
Can I ask a question before?
Yes. Sorry. Yes, if you have questions, sorry.
Yeah, I was curious if there are which strategies are already implemented to ensure inclusion and participation of local communities. If the speakers can give us some examples about it.
I may answer. Typically the case where we studied in here in Senegal is a really good example, because in Senegal they have developed these community managed marine protected areas, and so the communities, the villages are really working closely with the MPA managers, and so this project they have of developing the clam production with the women is really a bottom-up project, and the same with these the other things they are doing in the marine protected area. And one of the conclusions we have, for instance, for the regenerative blue economy is the fact that this concept should be take the opportunity to be explored within marine protected areas, which could probably give a really good field ground for testing and going further for the concept, because you have then an area, you have a kind of a management, but also it has to be participative with the communities and so on. So that's where. But in fact, I had a question to Anna, for instance, for the development of marine renewable energies. here it's a bit challenging to think of how do we include the communities within the process of developing this kind of activities. And then how do we maintain a good inclusiveness and benefit sharing and this sort of a social, issues that we want to see in the regenerative blue economy. So it's going to be a bit challenging, this particular aspect. If we want, for instance, to say that marine renewable energies can be considered within the regenerative blue economy thinking.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And there are different layers and regarding the topic of the social aspect and the coastal communities within something like offshore wind development. And of course, Europe has a very different social context compared to other continents, for example. But if we want to focus on where we have more knowledge at the moment, which is Europe, even there, it is really important, the relationship and the approach with the local communities, of course. So there are several different things that happen. One is that within the permitting process, there is a part which is the engagement with the community, and that you have to provide proof that you have talked to the local community and you have done some kind of assessment of what is the impact economically speaking and so on, and what is the consultation process. And that is one thing. Another one is what we were talking about before, during the process of doing auctions for a specific area where people want to put an offshore wind development. We are trying to advocate to have what are called non-price criteria to be awarded that space, which means in the criteria of the award in the auction, there should be some that are ecological and other that are social, so that you do a number of activities within your project that put the community and the environment within the project itself. So that is another instrument that we are advocating for within the coalition. We are trying to bring this forward. It's a very complex topic because it differs in the different countries, but that is one instrument that we can have that can it could ensure it from the very beginning of the planning of the project. And then I think, I don't remember if it's in Belgium or in Denmark, but there's actually a cooperative, a co-op that is trying to have local communities being actually shareholders of the project. So they have put in place a whole system. So a community is not just involved in part of the discussions, part of what is happening, the planning, compensation, but is also an active member of the offshore wind project. And so there's also more interest for them in there. And I think there is only one example of this. I do not remember the name now, but my colleagues knows this cooperative and I can dig it out for sure. So this is what's happening in Europe. But I totally agree, it's extremely important. And we also have NGOs here that do work with local communities. I was working earlier for WWF that is really in touch with local communities, for example. So our members bring that component within the coalition, and we really try to let's say, forward it to the industries. And more we have industry that ask, how can we engage better with local communities, especially with fishers, because those are the ones that get the most impacted by the use of space in different ways. When we talk about other contexts, and then I'll close here, sorry, I took up a lot of time, but when we talk about other contexts, like other continents, and where the discussion is very different because there are other powers and other types of governments in place, and the markets and the technology are not so mature there, I think we need to be very, very careful, and there need to be even more interest in what is happening in the local community. Otherwise, they will be the first one to be left out of the conversation.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
May I? Yeah. Hope we are running behind the schedule. Anyway, I just want to pinpoint here. I have shared one of the link here. This project was done by me, where I have engaged the local community, and we have worked with the self-help women group of a coastal village near Muttam, Kanyakumari district of India. We engage the women fishers and teach them how to do seaweed farming, and we help them to market that, so that parallelly the local society is growing the same way the seaweed we are doing the carbon sequestration activity. That's one example I just shared in the link. I just want to give an example for that. Okay.
Thanks.
That's good. It's good that everybody has like things to. Oh, I had questions as well, but I don't want to extend us to a long time in it. So I think we can continue talking. Katie as well, welcome to talk to us and send us an email or in the comments of the event. We can continue this talk, but I don't want to take too much more of your afternoon. So even if we come up with some questions or some comments later on, please, let's reach out to each other, and hopefully some other people can join after they see the recording online, or they reach out directly to you all.
Yeah, Darren, would you be able to share? You know, I can send you my presentation, and under a PDF form, and I think it would be nice if we could exchange our presentations, at least between the speakers.
Yes, yes.
That we can continue to.
Yes, please do. Then we can share it through emails,
yeah.
and then like the recording itself.
Yeah.
I would try to ask the engaged person to put online, and so people can reach out and see it in the YouTube. I guess it goes through YouTube if she can put over there. So that would be great. But yes, let's share that. Thank you all for presenting. I really enjoyed it, and I hope.
Thank you all. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.